We've got another great show coming up for you on American Black Journal. A trailblazing African-American law firm celebrates 50 years of service in Detroit. Plus, the nation's labor shortage has affected the U.S. Army. We'll tell you about the push to attract young people to the military. And the Detroit Doll Show is back to promote diversity and self-love. Don't go away. American Black Journal starts right now.
From Delta faucets to Behr paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929. Support also provided by the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
The DTE Foundation proudly supports 50 years of American Black Journal in covering African American history, culture, and politics. The DTE Foundation and American Black Journal partners in presenting African American perspectives about our communities and in our world.
Also brought to you by Nissan Foundation and viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm your host, Stephen Henderson. One of the country's oldest and largest African-American-owned law firms is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. Lewis and Munday, PC, was founded here in Detroit and has served as legal counsel for several major real estate developments right here in the city, including Joe Louis Arena, the Millender Center, and the new Little Caesars Arena. I spoke with the president, Reginald Dozier, and the co-chair of the litigation practice group, Rhonda Tate Trevelyan, about the firm's history and the commitment to diversity in the legal profession. I don't think anybody can look at the skyline of Detroit and not see something that traces back to this firm and its involvement in this city and its development. At the same time, I'm not sure lots of people know about Lewis and Munday, right? So Reginald, take us back to the beginning where all this started and how it became such a big part of the way the city's downtown in particular developed.
Well, Lewis and Munday is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. And when it started, I think it was the year before Coleman Young was elected mayor of the city of Detroit. After he was elected, a big part of his agenda was to make sure that people who lived here were included in things that were going on here. So what he did was he saw to it that a lot of the larger law firms partnered with then Lewis, White and Clay, to allow Lewis, White and Clay to become involved with a lot of the deals that were going on. And to that end, Lewis, White and Clay became involved in deals for purchase and for the erection of many of the things, as you said, downtown. There's almost not a building in the last 45, 50 years that has been placed in downtown that Lewis and Munday wasn't a part of. Been involved in the many refinancings of it's the Huntington place now, but back in that time, Cobo, we're involved in which isn't downtown, the General Motors Pole Town plant, involved in the arena, the Ford Field, Comerica Park, and even more recently, the Little Caesars Arena project. So we've been involved from the real estate perspective in almost every deal that has gone on in downtown Detroit.
Take us back to that time. I mean, it's the time in the city when African Americans were getting, in many cases, our first chance really to participate fully in not just the city's governance, but its development. And of course, Coleman Young is instrumental in that, and he brings lots of people along with him. But there are barriers that exist even at that point to Black participation, to Black equity in the city. Talk about those early years and whether there were real challenges to the idea of a Black law firm doing all of the things that this one did.
Okay, well, let me start off by saying, let me throw this out there. I wasn't back
You
then.
weren't there, I know.
Okay.
I wasn't meaning to say you're that old.
I know I'm old, but from what I've gleaned from being told by the founders and what I've seen by being a member of the legal community here, initially, when Lewis and Munday started off, the attorneys at Lewis and Munday were doing criminal assignments and doing probate work and criminal work and those things that most African-American attorneys of that day and age were able to do. But they had a vision to do more than that. And it really primarily is because of the efforts of the mayor saying to law firms, yeah, you might not want to work with them, but if you want to work with the city, you're going to have to work with them.
Yeah.
So even though there were the barriers, this particular law firm had a champion that helped it overcome a lot of those hurdles that were in the way of many other African-American attorneys of the time.
Yeah, yeah. And Rhonda, that tradition of leaning into diversity, of celebrating diversity, of struggling to make sure diversity is respected, that continues today with the work in the firm.
Absolutely. And I was talking with Reggie earlier today. We discussed the fact that this is actually a time period in our history where you have more women owners of Lewis and Munday than we have male owners at this time. So it shows that the needle has been pushed, not just with respect to minority attorneys, Black attorneys specifically, but Black female attorneys. And as you may have seen in the reports that have come out over the years about Black equity partners in the major law firms across the country, that percentage is so very small. When it comes to Black women, it's less than 1% that are equity partners. And so that's something that I never set out to become myself. That was not necessarily my goal, but I'm so very proud to be a member of that small cohort, primarily because it allows for other young women who are coming after me to see that this is something that can be attained. It's a goal that is possible. And for me to be able to be involved in the development of the next generation to ensure that we see wider representation in those ranks, and not just within African-American owned law firms like ourselves, but we need to see that within the majority law firms as well, that there's greater outreach, greater training, development, the things that I received that were so integral to my career at Lewis and Munday, where I was poured into and given mentorship and support by individuals like Mr. Dozier, that we need to see that for other young minority attorneys so that they can grow and succeed and reap the benefits of the hard work that they are putting into their careers each and every day.
Yeah. And are we doing better with that overall? I mean, is there better opportunity for especially in Detroit, where, I mean, you do have a lot more, I think, opportunity for African Americans here than in some cities, but are there still barriers, I guess, is the question.
Well, I think that we have moved the needle some, but there are still some barriers. I am very proud of the fact that here in Detroit, though, there are a lot of our major law firms that participate in pipeline programming that is hosted through organizations, such as the Wolverine Bar Association. Mm-hmm. I previously served as president of that organization, which is the largest Black bar association here in Michigan and the oldest. And while I was serving as president, I created a pipeline committee specifically designed to ensure that we were able to tap into students at younger ages than just the law student level. If you're already in law school, you kind of have your path and you're ready to move forward, but it's important that we get to the kids a bit younger. And so we do have a lot of the law firms that participate in programs such as our summer clerkship program, where students are placed into the major law firms for the summer, and then oftentimes they may be extended job positions to come on board permanently. And there are other programs that we place students, our judicial externship program, into internships with federal judges so that they are able to gain the type of experience that can springboard them into positions at other firms, or perhaps full-time federal clerkships in the future. So there are programs in Detroit. I think that there are opportunities in Detroit, but there are still barriers across the country, and the numbers just have not really moved. If you look at just even the past 10 years, actually the percentage of African-American lawyers slightly dipped by 0.1%. We still only make up 4.7% of attorneys in this country, whereas we're 13% of the population. And it's important to have diverse voices that are at the table to bring different perspectives and ensure that we are ensure that we are enforcing a fair and efficient and equitable administration of justice.
Quickly before we have to end, I want to give you guys a chance to talk about this scholarship fund that is part of the 50th anniversary. What's that about?
Well, as we've celebrated the entire year, our 50th anniversary, because it's a milestone that not many small businesses make, and not many small African-American businesses make, let alone a law firm. We have prided ourselves in being a place where African-American and other attorneys can grow and go out and flourish. But what we're trying to do with this scholarship, we are in the process of forming it, and it will be rolled out at our gala celebration that's celebrating our 50th. The scholarship is out of the newly established Lewis and Munday Foundation. And we'll have several scholarships over time, but we're starting off with 2 scholarships, which we intend to award during this next scholarship season. And there will be 1 scholarship for high school seniors who are going to and have been accepted into a college or university. And there'll be another scholarship for those who are being accepted into law school. It's not the traditional scholarship where you look necessarily for the person with the A+ grade point average. We're gearing this toward those middle of the pack people who a lot of times are overlooked with scholarships. And we're also gearing this toward graduates of Detroit Public School, or of Detroit schools, shall I say. Well, all of them are, most of them, even charter schools, are public schools. So of Detroit Public Schools.
Good news in that one of the nation's largest African-American doll shows is back after a 2-year break because of the COVID pandemic. The Detroit Doll Show returns on Saturday, November 12th at the Marygrove Conservancy. And this event promotes dolls of color as a way to celebrate Black history, culture, and diversity. In addition to shopping for dolls, family can take part in arts and crafts, meet children's authors, and enjoy live music and food trucks. I got all of the details from the Doll Show's founder, Sandra Epps. It's been a few years because of the COVID pandemic, but I so vividly remember talking to you about the Doll Show and its importance, especially its importance to young African-American children. Talk to me about how it feels to be back in person again in 2022.
We are so excited, Stephen. We are excited. And I have so many people who are buzzing on Facebook about, oh, we can't wait, we can't wait. It's going to be a family reunion. That's how I feel. Like we're coming back together and we're connecting because we haven't seen each other in a couple years. And it's going to be a Doll family reunion.
Yeah. So for those who are unfamiliar, tell me what the Doll Show is and how you came up with the idea for it.
Well, I wanted to inspire women and girls to love the skin they're in. And that's where it came from in terms of bringing out the best in them. And I decided I started with the book, but then I included the dolls, and it was a way to bring them in a sneaky way, in a sense, add some fun to it. Mm-hmm. So we celebrate history, culture, self-love, and diversity with the promotion of Black dolls. And it's been a wonderful journey in the process of meeting some fabulous individuals who handmake dolls and manufacture Black dolls.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of research, of course, on the role that dolls play in forming self-image and creating this sense of self-love. But it's worth going over that this is still an issue. In the 2020s. I mean, there were studies in the 50s and 60s about this, and you've seen the doll industry change a bit over that time, but you still don't have enough, I guess, representation. Talk about how important this is, that this is not just about toys. This is about who we are.
Yep, it's about who we are, and it's not just doll play. It's about self-esteem building. It's loving the skin you're in. That's why I go with that motto. It increases motor skills. I mean, it's a lot that goes on, but it's nothing like the reflection of yourself and what it does for you. And you matter. It basically stating to children and those adult collectors that you matter.
Yeah. So talk about the book that you wrote. Remind our viewers about this very important issue and how you highlight it in the text.
Well, Imani Has the Most Exciting Dream was the launch of my business. But however, I just, my fifth book is She Looks Like Me. And it's an inspirational book for girls and doll collectors, but it's all about reminding them that they are beautiful with their hair, their thick lips and almond eyes. I actually have a poem in the book that the title is My Black Doll Reminds Me. And I go over those initial things that remind the reader that they matter. And no matter how they wear their hair, kinky, locks, braids, twists, you still matter.
So let's talk about the doll show coming back live, what people will experience if they get there. It's not just the dolls.
Exactly. So Saturday, November the 12th from 11 to 6 p.m. at Mary Grove Conservancy. We have moved over there and they can experience the Doll Legacy Award returning, some characters, of course, of dolls, head wrap workshops, arts and crafts all day, and authors, and a variety of dolls. And the representation of those dolls that you will see that will be on sale are right here next to me. We'll have Donald Calloway, we have Brains and Beauty dolls. So a lot of returning doll makers and manufacturers, and some new faces that you will see at the Detroit Doll Show on Saturday, November the 12th.
Yeah. So as I was saying before, we've had this issue for a really long time, but at the same time, things do look a little different. I mean, you have Disney movies where there are people of color, girls of color as the lead.
Yes.
You have dolls that are being made off of those movies. Talk about what you hear, I guess, from young Black girls now about the world that's around them and how it might be really different from what I might remember, or even older people.
Right. So yeah, case in point, even what I remember, but the young people, they now have a lot more variety, although you won't see them as much in stores. Case in point, the Black Panther movie that's coming out. Well, Fresh Dolls, which is created by Dr. Williams, and she created a line of these new Wakanda dolls, but it's an African-American woman who created the Pretty Perfect line. It was the first line that was like in Targets and Walmart. Well, she has created a line of dolls that she connected with the Wakanda production crew and made it happen in Disney. So it's a wonderful thing that the new generation do have more of a variety of Black dolls that they will see in the store. Even Mattel has brought on a new line of inspirational dolls, the Rosa Parks doll, Madam C.J. Walker doll, Katherine Johnson doll. So it's truly a new journey of seeing more dolls that reflect who we are and what we look like and what we provide to the world and have provided to the world as African-American people.
Yeah, and some of that pressure that's on the doll makers comes from efforts like yours to highlight that gap, to highlight the fact that there isn't equal representation, even as we get closer to it. Things are still uneven.
Yeah, exactly. Because you may see, case in point, the Tina Turner doll. I don't know if you knew that there was a Tina Turner doll. Well, Tina Turner was out there a hot second, literally, because I tried to get her and I missed out on purchasing her. Will they bring her back? I don't know, but that's the point. They'll only produce so many of those dolls and then you don't see them anymore. So you still kind of experiencing the same thing where you're in the stores kind of looking for some. You will, see the white dolls still, majority in the stores, than you do dolls of color. And when you see the dolls of color, it's only a few, and typically they go pretty fast. Yeah. I mean, this is what we're still dealing with, but at the doll show, you have the opportunity to actually meet the manufacturers, to meet the doll makers, and you get a little bit more history of them. And it's a little different when you meet the person who creates the Black dolls, because they all have the same mission in mind. It's all about inspiring the kids to love the skin they're in.
And finally today, as the nation prepares to observe Veterans Day, the military has launched an all-out effort to attract more young men and women to the military. The Chief of Staff of the U.S. Army recently visited the Detroit area to talk with civic leaders about solutions for recruiting new soldiers. One Detroit's Bill Kubota was there.
Hey, thanks for what you're doing, in the military.
The Chief of Staff of the U.S. Army, General James McConville, paid a visit to Michigan for a frank conversation with business and education leaders about the challenges of military recruiting. The meeting at the TACOM facility in Warren addressed the issues of childhood obesity and a decline in educational achievement, which has led to a soldier shortage. General McConville says the Army has a 90-day program in place aimed at getting possible recruits where they need to be physically and academically.
What we're looking to do is to inspire young men and women to serve that can meet the standards of the United States Army. We want to invest in American youth, and what we've done is we've actually stood up a future soldier preparatory course to help young men and women who want to serve that are having problems meeting the academic and the physical requirements. We're not going to lower standards. What we're going to do is help them meet our standards. What we want to do is to give those who have not had a chance to participate in athletics, maybe because of COVID or some other reason, but the ability to get physically fit. And also those who are having challenges passing the academic requirements, a chance to do that. And that's what this 90-day program is all about. We think we've got experience that with the right diet, the right exercise, we can get young men and women into the appropriate shape if they have the desire to serve. We have an academic test that recruits are required to take, and it used to be 2/3 passed. Now only 1/3 pass. And then on the body weight size or the physical fitness side, we're just seeing a lot less young men and women. And we don't know if that's because of COVID, the last 2 years, maybe sports programs, virtual education. There's a lot of reasons why it could be. But what we do know is we want to give these young men and women that want to serve an opportunity to serve, and they have to meet the standards.
What about COVID? What has that done in terms of recruitment?
Well, it's made it much more difficult for our recruiters because they're not in the high schools. And what we see is exposure to the military is extremely important if we want young men and women to come in. And so what we see right now is 83% of the young men and women that come into the Army are military family members. So some would say it's a military family business. We want it to be an American family business.
For the civic leaders meeting with General McConville, his remarks opened their eyes as to how the nation's labor shortage has impacted the military. It also provided insight as to how the Army is hoping to attract more young people.
Whenever I have an opportunity to talk to a young person that's thinking about the military, I do. I let them know, it changed my life, the best decision I ever made. I work for a nonprofit organization in Forum, and our focus is women and accelerating women in their careers, but we do have a program for female veterans called Next for Vets, and so I facilitate that program and offer coaching to female veterans as they're how do they utilize the skills they gained in the military in the private sector.
I think one of the things that came out today is that there needs to be more awareness of the military and the benefits and resources that the military have to assist people who decide to take that path, and really what's beyond that. If they want to be a doctor or an engineer, really exploring those opportunities and better communicating them to the parents and to the prospect students as well.
What we know we want in the military when it comes to attributes. We want young men and women that are resilient, that because they're going to face adversity, and we want them to be able to overcome that. We want young men and women that are physically and mentally fit, because again, they're going to be challenged in the military. And we want young men and women that have character. And if they have had challenges, we have to take a hard look at, you know, what type of soldier they're going to be, because the American people have got to trust us. You know, we're the people with guns. And so you want to make sure that you can trust the United States Army. And quite frankly, I believe you can, and I believe that we have the world's greatest soldiers.
That is going to do it for this week's show. You can find out more about our guests at AmericanBlackJournal.org. And as always, you can connect with us on Facebook and on Twitter. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
From Delta faucets to Behr paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929. Support also provided by the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
The DTE Foundation proudly supports 50 years of American Black Journal in covering African American history, culture, and politics. The DTE Foundation and American Black Journal, partners in presenting African American perspectives about our communities and in our world.
Also brought to you by Nissan Foundation and viewers like you. Thank you.